Do you want me to do the whole thing over again? I don't remember what I said last. Is that what I was saying? Hi everybody, today we're gonna be making chicken parmesan with a fresh tomato sauce. So the fresh tomato sauce uses some cherry tomatoes, some onion and garlic, some fresh basil, and a little bit of white wine. And then the chicken parm is a little different than what you might traditionally think of as a chicken parmesan recipe. But I learned this technique from my mom and I love it because it keeps the chicken so moist. So what I'm gonna do is actually, I've already mixed together some mayonnaise and Parmesan cheese, which sounds a little weird, I know, but it's major flavor and moisture, which no one wants dry chicken breast. So that's what we'll kind of coat our chicken breast with, and then we'll do some breadcrumbs as well, and serve it with some pasta, kind of traditional. All I do is take about a tablespoon of olive oil and spread it on a baking sheet, and then I'm gonna toss all the cherry tomatoes with that olive oil and a little bit of salt and pepper. But you just wanna make sure that your whole pan gets coated with olive oil because we're gonna roast these in the oven. And when they burst, which is exactly what we want, the sugars come out and caramelize. And so if you don't have a nice oil coating on the bottom of your pan, they can get stuck and kind of burn a little bit. So just make sure that you get the olive oil spread nice and evenly. I just like to take a tomato and kind of use it to help me spread the olive oil. Mostly the edges is what I'm worried about because once we get the tomatoes in here and toss them around, they'll kind of help us coat the rest of the pan. Now our tomatoes are all ready to go. My oven is preheated to 425, so I'm gonna pop these in there on the middle rack. Now that our tomatoes are roasting in the oven, they're gonna burst and let out some juices and caramelize. And we're gonna take all of that and add it to a pan on the stove. So in the meantime, I have to get that pan ready with everything else that we need for our sauce. So next, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up an onion and some garlic, and then we'll start sauteing those with butter and a little olive oil. At medium, maybe a little medium-low. Once those get nice and soft, I'm gonna add some white wine to the pan and let that kind of cook out. And then by that time, hopefully our tomatoes are ready and we'll add those in too. Our tomatoes are all done roasting and they look awesome. So we are just gonna add all of the tomatoes and the juices and everything into our sauce here. And now this sauce is just gonna simmer until we are ready to eat. So all the flavors are gonna kind of meld together. Some of this juice is gonna thicken up a little bit more. I'm gonna just let this sit over some medium-low heat and kind of simmer away a little bit. Next, we're gonna make the chicken parm. I've got my chicken breast here, my half a cup of mayonnaise and half a cup of Parmesan cheese, which I also seasoned with salt and pepper, and then just some Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. And I went ahead and lined a baking sheet with foil just because it makes it easier to clean everything up. I adjusted the oven from 425 when we were roasting the tomatoes down to 375 because that's what we're gonna bake our chicken at. So I just seasoned my chicken breasts with salt and pepper. And what I'm gonna do is take one of these guys into my mayonnaise and Parmesan mixture. And you might be able to tell that I used some shredded Parmesan cheese instead of grated. Originally, I think my mom uses grated cheese when she does this, but I kind of like the shredded because it's more chunky, so you actually get more bites of Parmesan. So you wanna make sure you get the mayonnaise and Parmesan into all the crevices of the chicken. You want every area to be coated well. As you can see, I've got this one kind of coated. I'm just gonna set it into my breadcrumbs here. And then flip it over and make sure I get some all over the other side. Okay, so we have got this chicken breast now covered in the breadcrumbs. I'm just gonna shake off the excess and then set this guy onto my baking sheet and get going on the others. Our chicken is ready to go in the oven, so I'm gonna pop it in there for about 30 minutes until our chicken is cooked through. I just wanted to check back in with our sauce here and show you, you can see that the liquid is getting a lot thicker in here now. So we're gonna just let it continue to simmer but since we're losing some of that liquid, we don't want to have it all evaporate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down really low. All that's really left to do before we put our finishing touches on this meal is to cook our pasta. I'm using the pasta as a side dish. I'm cooking about 1 ounce per person instead of 2 ounces, which is the standard serving. So I've got about 4 ounces here since I have 4 chicken breasts. And all I'm gonna do is season my boiling water with some salt and drop this in. And the box says to cook it 9 to 10 minutes. And I always go 2 minutes shy of whatever that lowest number is and check it, because I love al dente pasta. So I'm gonna do this spaghetti for 7 minutes, taste it, check it, see how it's doing, and then decide from there if I'm ready to drain it or not. So our pasta, like I thought, was done about 7 minutes. I drained it, and all I did was take a little bit of my fresh tomato sauce, which looks awesome right now, and added it to the pasta just so that it doesn't stick, and that's just kind of hanging out over there. But what we need to do is add our fresh basil to our fresh tomato sauce, which really is just hits it out of the ballpark. That's really the final touch that makes the flavors out of this world. I tasted it already and it's doing pretty good. So I'm just gonna pick off some of this basil here and give it a quick chop and then toss that into the sauce. So just a rough chop so that all your bites have basil in them. So we've got maybe 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons here. Okay, so here's our spaghetti with some of the fresh tomato sauce, and I'm just gonna add a little bit more on top. Looks so good. And then I wanna make sure and save some of the sauce too so that we can put some more over our chicken when it comes out of the oven. Our chicken is out of the oven, nice and crispy, cooked all the way through. We've got our pasta and some extra sauce. So now we're just gonna plate up our dinner. Looks so good. So I'm just gonna start with a little bit of pasta. More. Okay. And then we'll grab the chicken. And then I just want to give them both a little bit more sauce. Okay, so I think we're ready to eat. Maybe a little Parmesan on top, because Parmesan makes everything better. But other than that, ready to go. And there we have it. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. I hope that you make this soon because it is one of my all-time favorites. And join me again soon. Thanks.